Last thing we'll talk about, of course, we have the World Cup. Sadly, America lost, and it was a tragic loss. But I didn't know this until recently. Like, I knew that women's sports is subsidized by men's sports, but I didn't know it was to this extent. This is from the New York Post. U.S. men's national team's World Cup $12.8 million payout will be shared with women's team after equal pay CBA. Literally, half of what the male soccer team makes, they have to give to the women's soccer team. The U.S. women's national team won't play a World Cup match until 2027, but it is still set to receive a major payday from this year's big tournament. The U.S. If you can, stop scrolling. Just keep scrolling down so that it doesn't pop up. The U.S. men's national team earned $16 million from FIFA for reaching the round of 16 before being eliminated by Belgium in a 4-1 loss in Seattle under U.S. Soccer's landmark equal pay collective bargaining agreements. The money will be shared. That money will be shared with the women's national team. There's Megan Rapinoe. Terrible. We don't like her. It's freaking lesbian. So the U.S. Soccer keeps 20% of the prize money. The remaining 80%, which is the $12.8 million, is split evenly between the men's and women's player pools, meaning each team is set to receive $6.4 million from the U.S. men's national team's run. Based on 26 player rosters, that comes out to roughly $246,153 per player. The women's share will not be paid immediately. The U.S. women's national team has not yet qualified for the 2027 Women's World Cup in Brazil, and the final roster will not be selected until closer to the tournament. Until then, the money owed to the women will sit at an interest-bearing account, with that interest also split between both player pools. Go down, please. Is that it? Mm-hmm. Oh, the end of the article? Okay. Imagine you working your butt off at the World Cup to win for country, for pride, for God and country. The U.S. men's national soccer team, a lot of patriots, a lot of Christian patriots who love their country, who love their God, who pray before and after every single match on the world stage, singing, right, "Take me home, country roads." These patriots, knowing that half of their labor is going to women who do nothing. Literally, they didn't do anything. The women's national soccer team, they literally sit there and they get paid $250,000 for doing nothing, just for being women. And you, as a male soccer player, as a male athlete, have to know that half of your money is going to pay for lazy lesbians who hate this country, hate God. How would you feel? Well, I would be like, hey, what's the point of winning? Like, seriously, what's the point of winning? Why do I work so hard so that people who don't do anything to contribute to our team, to our victory, to my performance, they get half of my pay? In what world is this even fair? Does what women make does half of what women make, does that go to the male soccer team? No. It's only a one-way street. If professional women's sports cannot survive without being subsidized by male sports, then it shouldn't exist. And I honestly think high-impact, contact, intense, competitive sports for women should not exist at the pro level because it is against their design. The most intense women who do the most intense workouts, who are the strongest and the quickest, and exert their bodies so much to the point to get to a place where they can be in peak performance mode, they damage their fertility. They struggle with fertility. And if you are doing something that is intentionally damaging your fertility, you are going against God's design. And it is harmful for the woman. Because at the end of the day, God designed women to give birth. That is their special gift that they can do that men will never be able to do. So, professional women's sports like soccer and basketball, in essence, is like functional transgenderism. It is gender dysphoria, functionally. Because, yes, I'm not saying women can't work out and exercise and play sports. but they're not meant to do competitive, high-intensity, high-impact sports. Because that's what men are meant to do. Because when men engage in that, like men are naturally competitive, but as they work their bodies to the brink and exert themselves, they create more testosterone, become stronger, become quicker, more capable as men. So these competitive sports are inherently masculine. They're not feminine. That's why you have the majority of the WNBA and all these soccer players, these women soccer players, be lesbians. Because it makes them functionally transgender. It makes them functionally male. So that's already the argument enough from the Christian worldview that professional women's sports shouldn't really exist. But if it can't exist on its own and on its own merits and make enough money without being subsidized by men, then it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't. But right now, men are subsidized. Same thing with the WNBA, same thing with women's hockey. Every single female league with high-intensity contact sports, they're all subsidized by men. And how absurd is it that half of what the male athletes, they work their butt off, they work their entire lives to get to that point to try to win at the World Cup, half of what they earn is going to women who did nothing to deserve it. They literally did nothing. And these women are the very same women who counter-signal America, talk about how racist, misogynistic, transphobic, homophobic America is. And they hate America. They kneel for the national anthem. Yeah, why are we subsidizing these people? Why are we giving them free money again? They did nothing. And there's liberals who say, oh, but the U.S. national women's soccer team won World Cups. The men's team never did. Okay, who cares? Who cares? No one cares about women's sports. And the reason why most people don't care about women's sports is the same reason I just described on why it shouldn't exist in the first place. It's not entertaining because why? People want to see beautiful women act womanly. They don't want to see women act like men. That's why it's not popular. That is why it's not popular. That's why ballet is popular, figure skating is popular, because that's female, that's feminine, and that's fine. But no one likes to see a 6'3", jacked, gorilla-looking woman run around with a ball. Because that's not inherently what women are meant to be like. They're supposed to be womanly. They're supposed to be feminine. And nothing wrong with women playing sports. I have nothing against that. But once it gets to a point where you are almost indistinguishable from a man because you're roiding yourself out and you're taking a lot of testosterone, you're producing a lot of testosterone as a woman, yeah, it's going to destroy your body. And that's not what your body's meant for. And reminder, look at this. Always a good reminder. Women, the U.S. women's national soccer team, they lost 5-2 to a U15 boys academy team from FC Dallas. They lost to a bunch of 15, 14, 13-year-olds. They lost to a bunch of middle schoolers. You know how small middle schoolers are? Ever deal with middle school students? 7th graders, 8th graders? They're puny. Even for those who reach puberty, yeah, they're still awkward in their own body because they're going through puberty. And the women's national team still lost to 13, 14, 15-year-old boys. Yeah, that's why female sports is the way that it is. No one watches it, except for ones that are inherently feminine, like I said, ballet and figure skating. Because this is not what women are made for. And this is not how God designed us. And that's okay. But I think my friend Melissa Chen had a really, really great point about this whole injustice. Because it really is an injustice that men are subsidizing women and everything that men earn, like half of what men earn, are just given to women for free. This is what she said. The U.S. men's national soccer team is being subjected to the same kind of legalized plunder that defines too many divorce proceedings in this country. After grinding through qualifiers, earning their spot in the World Cup, and generating the massive FIFA payout that only the men's game can produce, $12.8 million in this case, the players are now forced to hand over a huge chunk of that money to the women's team under the Equal Pay Collective Bargaining Agreement. The women didn't play a single minute of those matches, didn't draw the crowds, didn't sell the tickets, they didn't create the revenue, yet they still get a cut of the men's prize money while the reverse transfer remains a fraction. Yes, The women are more successful having won the Women's World Cup several times, but the prize is much smaller. Why? It reflects differences in global interest, sponsorship, viewership, and actual performance. This is all under the guise of parity between equivalent work. But in reality, it's more like subsidizing one program with the output of the other, just like the ex-spouse cashing checks from earnings she didn't generate. Equal pay sounds noble until you realize it erases distinctions in market value, risk, audience draw, and results. It disincentivizes excellence on the men's side. Why push harder if your windfall gets redistributed? And removes pressure on the women's side to grow their own commercial appeal. Like divorce settlements that trap high earners in perpetual support roles, this policy treats men's soccer as a piggy bank for fairness, not a business rewarding what fans and sponsors actually value. That's what it is. Men are now piggy banks for entitled, insufferable women. That's the society we live in today. From divorce proceedings in their divorce courts, to sports, professional sports, to our colleges. Like, men are disenfranchised at every single point. Their hard work is penalized and taken and stolen from them to redistribute to women who didn't do the same work, didn't do anything to contribute to that revenue, net profit. And a lot of these women are people who hate men, hate America, hate God. What are we doing here? So, this is just peak social retardation. This shouldn't exist. This shouldn't be anything in the first place. And again, if women's sports cannot exist on its own without men subsidizing them, it shouldn't exist. There's no reason. What is the reason? We need to include women. For what? What is the reason? Because they feel left out? Too bad. Like, you're not entitled to anything just because you exist virtually. Like, you just exist as a woman. You don't deserve everything and anything you want. Like, we can't run a society this way. We've never done society this way. Men have always been the builders of society. Women have always been the builders of the home. That's how society worked until very recently, when women now think that they can be like men. Like, no, you cannot be men. Men cannot be women. That goes for our biology. That also goes in terms of our roles in society and our design. It's our very nature. From the bare minimum, from our very bones, okay? And to our spirit, our spiritual component. Men and women are different. We cannot be the same. We are dimorphic in every single metric. Physiologically, biologically, temperamentally, emotionally, mentally, in our design, teleologically, we are different. We are dimorphic. We are men and women. We are male and female. That's okay. But conservatives who continue to indulge this, it's not just about fairness, conservatives. Of course, it's not fair that men are being penalized for their hard work and subsidizing women who do nothing to contribute to the revenue. That's also obviously not fair. But it has to go beyond that. It's not fair, and it's so disordered because women aren't even meant to do that in the first place. Not saying women can't play sports. What I am saying is professional women's sports for high-impact, high-contact sports shouldn't exist because it is functionally transgender, because women are not competitive by nature. They're cooperative. That's why you look at women who scream and like try to shove each other on the WNBA court, and it looks weird. It's just so unbecoming because women are not meant to do that. God didn't design women to be that way. So, GG's, Christian Pulisic, Balogun, and all of you Christian patriots who have to now give half of your salary to women. It sucks. It sucks. I know it sucks. But if you continue to stay silent, then that's what you're going to get. And I don't know. Is that the kind of society we want to live in? No, I don't. I don't want to live in a society when men and women are competing against each other, which is exactly what's happening here. I want women and men cooperating with each other, where women support men and become the helpmate of men, and men lead and provide and protect for women. And that symbiotic, dimorphic relationship has defined civilization for millennia. And the absolute hubris of the modern times to think that that is unnecessary, unneeded now. And now we have mass disorder, mass chaos, mass depression, relationships, divorces, birth rates all in the gutter. Yeah. Who knew? Who knew that people who came before us got it right? Who knew?